you tired of being taxed on your wages and other income that you work so hard to get? It's much more reasonable to be taxed on what we buy than on the amount of money that we make. We should be taxed on consumption rather than have to pay a ridiculous income tax on all of our hard work. We have an inalienable right to make a living and provide for our families. There's absolutely no reason why the government should be able to tax us on these things. It should be taxed us only on what we consume and not other wages and forms of money that we get. I'm going to tell you how we should be taxed on a consumption basis only rather than the standard income tax that we're all used to as of right now. Okay, so consumption tax. Basically, it's the idea of being taxed on everything that you buy. Whether it be merchandise or something from the store, just like you have a sales tax today, there's a percentage that goes to the state for everything that you buy. Well, there should be a federal tax as well in place of an income tax. And with this, it'd be everybody would pay. You can't get out of not paying. You know, in the income tax that we have today, there's so many loopholes and different ways to get around it. You can lie on the amount of wages that you actually make, and it's just crazy how many loopholes that there are that you can get around it. And according to Sweet101.com, every year about $300 billion is lost due to tax evasion each year. So that just goes to show you that if you had a consumption basis tax, then every single thing that you bought, you'd be taxed on, whether you're poor or rich. You know, just versus a rich person buying a $300,000 car, you know, they would in turn pay more taxes than the poor person. But either way, it doesn't matter. Everybody would be having to pay no matter what you buy. As far as also illegal aliens that are in this country, some of them do pay taxes, but there's also millions that do not. And mostly people that get paid cash, there's no way of tracing that back to anything. So again, you know, there's just one more way that everybody would have to pay instead of just a certain amount of people. And it's just the fairest form of taxation that there is. Consumption basis. You shouldn't be able to be taxed on the amount of money that you earn. You know, you work really hard to get that money, you shouldn't be taxed for it. You should be taxed on basically what we consume. So now, as you see, the consumption tax is without a doubt the best and fairest form of taxation that there is. Now let's take a look at how the income tax is and how it works. Okay, income tax, basically there's about 5 or 6 different tax brackets that there are, and you basically get taxed on, you know, you're in a certain bracket, you get taxed on a certain percentage of what you make every year. So, you know, it's just no way around that. One of the things is, the bad thing is it's really intrusive. You know, there's so many different things you have to give, you know, to the government in order just to be able to file your taxes. You have to give them social security numbers, exactly how you got the money, where you got it from. It's very intrusive. And according to an investment broker, Peter Schiff, he says it's a very inefficient and an intrusive way to tax people. You know, it's just basically, you have to pay an accountant just to be able to do your taxes. You know, that costs money every year, on top of the money you have to pay to file your taxes. So it's just crazy how it's like that. You know, like I said again, you know, being taxed on labor, you know, that's just ridiculous. You shouldn't be able to be taxed on the amount of hours and money that you make, because, you know, it takes long hours just to get there. Also on interest, things as interest, you have a savings account in the bank, you know, every year, if it's over a certain amount, you know, you do have to pay a little bit of taxes on it. And that's just crazy, you know, you can't even save money without having to also pay taxes on that. And, let's see, and also, there's also things like capital gains taxes. Let's say you buy a house, and then you flip it immediately, you have to pay a capital gains tax, which is sometimes up to 15%. And yeah, according to the IRS, you can pay a capital gains tax of up to 15% on such things as property or stocks, just for making a quick buck on it, you know. So you don't get all that profit, the government gets part of that too. And they haven't done anything to earn that, they just get it just because. And so there it is. There are so many reasons why we should push for a consumption tax and do away with the income tax. It's our God-given right to make a living and provide for our families. And so, I mean, why should we be able to be taxed on that? And it's obvious that Americans would benefit greater on a consumption tax basis rather than by the income tax that we have today. We should be taxed on what we buy and what we consume rather than how much we earn or how much that we make. So, let's see. Why should the government be allowed to tax you on the income that you make? The income that required all those long hours of labor just to make ends meet. Consumption tax is the best way to go and also the fairest. Let's no longer be taxed on how much we make, but rather about what we consume. Congress makes laws and amends laws constantly. Let's stand up for what is right and put an end to an income tax together as friends and Americans. So I suggest everybody to maybe write a letter or something to your politician and just, have the idea, bring up the idea. The idea is there, it's in Congress now, and there's different advocates for it, but it's just not as strong as it needs to be. So everybody should definitely push for that and abolish the income tax.